Hi everyone, welcome back into the class, and we're going to continue today our Path of Light studies with that second photo that I showed you. This is one that I did the setup, or Jessica did the setup, and is sitting over there with the blue glass. Because the 10, I always liked the 10, but the 10 was, I like to follow Sargent, and like I've told you, and Sargent always says use as large a brush as possible. And so this 1/2 inch really works nice for a painting like this size. Let's go in and let's work the glass. First, let's analyze the glass. The glass is more of it has some blue violets in it, but a lot of real light blue greens. Let's back some of this off here just a bit here for a second. And what we're going to do is paint the glass. When you're painting colored glass like this, you paint from light to dark, because it's, basically the light that you're seeing through here is through light. You're seeing light reflecting off the wall coming back up through. Here's the light up into the front part of it, see? What happens is with dark glass, the original front of the glass is this dark, and you see it lighter because of the background that's through here. And so really, into a colored glass that's like this, and I've studied this for a long time. A colored glass, the darks are coming up in front of the lights. And a dark paints out a light really easy. Now, we can go back and put lights, but see that shine that's right there? That's my light source. That's my light source. And so these are the secondary studio lights that we saw in the other photo, but you see it really clearly here. This is the top round ellipse of that edge here, this bent edge there, and that's the light source again, hitting right there. But that's the front of the glass. And this light that you see back through here is through light. Through the light, hitting it and coming back. So you can actually see, well, you can look at that here. This is the back, and this will really show you. This is the back ellipse of the water that's in this container here. And it's lighter in the back than it is in the front. See how the water up here is darker? That's because the dark is advancing. So what is creating the light? The wall is creating the light on the dark glass. If you don't have that light wall back there, you get even darker glass, okay? So light's bouncing, coming back up and through. So what I'm going to do is really kind of find this light blue that's up there, and it's really kind of dirtied, and we can do that. But I'm going to really kind of get the value of it up here right around an 8 to a 9. And I'll dirty it here with some of my grays and my cool colors. Remember, acrylics are going to dry down, so we want to grab that color that's right in there, slightly, just a bit more violet than what I have here. So let's add just a touch of our violet to that. And let's look right around in here, and we'll see that I'm going to I'm looking for that light. See that real light in there? And so I want to put that light right back in here onto the back of the ellipse. That's there. And I don't want to leave, because I'm going to be painting here kind of smooth. I'm just going to take a little bit of thin. I don't want to leave any of the texture up there in the paint, so I want to remove that there. Now that's going to dry down. I could have that just a touch more violet, and I'm going to want to be varying that for just a bit here. Now, one of the lines that is kind of gone is an ellipse line that's right here. So we want to match that ellipse right here. So there's the longest point out, but it's right on the bottom side there. We want to match that. We want to just kind of pull and mix up some of these different blues, model these blues down. Let's grab a little bit more blue, a little bit of red violet into that. So basically you're going to see my glass coming out here. Let's grab this and model this down here. And I want to blur it, modeling it through here like this, leaving some movement in it, because it's the movement that makes colored glass so pretty here. Okay, so we'll come down, we'll push in a bit, leave a bit of that movement. A bit of the brownish kind of color from the wall is going to pull in here. Ours could have a bit more gray, but we'll just lightly say that brown, that beige, right in there. I'm looking through the tones. See, this is the one thing when I'm a tone painter, I look through and see those tones. I want a little more beige into that. A little more of that medium beige there. Let's just dance a bit of that through here. Even though most of this is going to go dark, I can see some really nice violets way deep down in here, which I want to express. And sometimes when you're painting color glass, you know, you take it to the extreme. You take the color expression to the extreme, so you get more interest. Let's take some of this, let's gray that just lightly with a bit of our beige here. This is going to go real dark back up over here, and let's take that line. This is going to take a few times here. And I know that's bright. I'm going to leave that a little bit bright here. And we're just going to come through here. Try to preserve those nice ellipses. That nice ellipse there. Now this right here is a path of light right through it that is creating a shadow from the top of the glass where that light is coming back down through. Now that's going to go darker, okay? But I'm looking how the light is traveling around the container in there, how it's bouncing around. So you see it back over here. So basically the light's coming down like this. It's passing through, it's hitting, and it's expressing on the back side over here, which we've got to put more darks in. This is just our half tones, our medium tones that we're putting in right now. Okay, I'm going to come back right back up here, put some of this light in, and just remodel that right through there. So I'm painting pure acrylic, and see, I can just model those tones. And to get beautiful, pretty glass, I want to model as many tones as possible. So I'm going to restate some of my beige right back in through there. Maybe beige and just a touch of my blue through there. And I might state that several more times. Put a bit of that bouncing through, because that makes pretty bouncing light through there. Okay, now let's get some of our, let's take some blue and some of that nice red violet, or quinacridone violet, excuse me, nice medium, and let's just bounce some of that through here. Just a bit of that color through as well, right in there. We'll take this just a bit darker and a bit more violet, and we can even dull the color slightly with some green. That will dull it every bit, because the green will tone with the pine green will tone with the red violet, giving me a darker but still a very nice rich color. See, it's very nice and rich, and look at that color tone that's right in there. Now remember, I am going to be changing some of this glass from that photo, so I'm going to be lightening some of it up, so for more interest into it that I see in the actual setup back up over there. So I'm going to be lightening this, okay? I'm going to be lightening this. Keep that in your mind. So I'm not going to be, I'm going to be following along a lot of that glass, but I'm also going to be changing some of it. Let me reduce that edge. Get rid of that edge. No harsh edges there, because the light's bouncing around quite a bit. So we want to get rid of some of those harsh edges. Let's get just a touch over here, which is really kind of expressing the thickness of the glass. Here, we'll bounce some of that out. Reduce those edges here, so you get some more realism to it. Now, here's the top of this one. We have to paint this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go a little bit smaller of a brush. We have to paint this pretty careful here. I'm going to take some of my blue, same kind of color again, my red violet, and a bit of my green to tone that down just a bit, to gray it down just a touch. I'm going to be a little careful, so I'm going to grab my board, set this around, because I'm going to be painting in here, and I saw too much paint on my brush, so I'm going to take it back out a little bit. So this is the Fusion 6, flat 6, and I want to come in here and I want to express that right about there. That's a nice bit of paint on there. Let's lighten that up just a bit and express some of the bottom edge here. Push that right in there. I'm going to put a bit of the dark a little further out. Here, watch your outside of your lip. So this is really the front of the glass, the shadow that's on it, and it hits. And then the light is coming up into this area here and starting to lighten up. So we'll grab some of our light violets and stuff here, and right about in there we'll express a bit of that right up in there. Let's just model it a bit so you get some color coming off. Model means you're not mixing too well, so that you get some color coming off. And I'm just going to stroke through a bit and maybe pull through just a bit there like that. And now I can push more of that movement through. Because remember what I said in the last one is I paint the movement of glass. I'm one who paints the movement in roses. I paint the movement in glass as well here. And so I paint how light moves through it. Rather than just copy the tone, I paint how the path of light moves through that colored glass. Now it's darker and a little bit more harsh right over here on this side. A little bit more. Now this is also where, you've got to look at, how much of an edge. Are you going to leave more brush calligraphy? Is that going to be your style? Are you going to leave more of the harsh edge of realism? I am one like I said, I used to paint a lot of realism, and I don't do that too much anymore. So there we go. Let's take a bit of that dark. You'll see it creeping on the ellipse. Here it's actually the water dark here on the ellipse to the back. Now that ellipse got a bit of a hump in it back there, so got to make that kind of smooth there just a bit. So you see that right back there, that dark line. I've got to go a bit darker. And sometimes when I'm painting with acrylics and I thin them out, now remember I did last time, I pull the color across. I put it on the side and I pull it across. That gives you a darker, cleaner line. But I know I'm painting in acrylics. I know I paint it kind of thin, and so I let it tack up and give it a second coat. That's why I like the acrylics. The oils, you got to work in that wet in there, and sometimes that wet disturbs the next layer, and I don't care for that. Now I'm going to come right up in through here. They're kind of going to change. I'm going to leave a light shine line right up into the front, and then they're going to touch each other, and then it's going to just bounce and come across there like that. So there'll be a light shine line. See it right there, a little bit of a light. And I'll take a medium tone right here and just tap through that just a bit, just to break some of that, maybe bounce a little bit of light through that line. Let's take some soft and let's just restroke right up along the top, pull down, paint that ellipse a bit, model it just a bit there. Okay. I'm going to restate that dark, a little more green, slightly different color, a little more green, a little more violet here. Restate some of that dark right back through here. Another stroke through. Let it be modeled through there. Just tap your brush through. Give it some nice movement through there. That gives a bit more of a realism. Now there's, things that I look for that, it's like it's a little darker over here to the left. Sometimes when I'm painting real quick, I won't get that much into it. I don't look, because I'm not a realism painter anymore. But I'm looking to what's happening in the entire painting here of what I want and where my darks are. And if I'm doing a beautiful painting of glass, I might come through here with more of a violet, because maybe some of my end colors is more violet, and push a little bit more violet into a color like that, so that, it'll change it just a bit. I like to do that. Especially I got some darks down through here. That violet helps you really get a nice cool dark, down through here. Pull some of that through light moving right through with a little bit of a brush mark there. There like that. Get a bit of that light movement through there. And that really works. That really, really does work. Let's get a bit of that blue and some of that beige. Bit of our green kind of here, and a bit more of that beige. That burnt sienna is really pretty to add into some of this, and just pull some of that across again to get some of that other color. Now you can leave some textures. A pure Alla Prima painter might leave a bit of the textures in there. You could see it could go just a touch darker, so a little more blue right into that, and we'll pull through. Just love to hit those tones. That's what I'm looking for. Some of those tones right in there. Let's go back to our light here before it completely dries. Not exactly the same. I have just a touch more violet in it. Let's just restate that. I like it when it gets a little sticky because that gives me more movement to the glass as I'm painting there, like that. So this is almost dried up, so the paint is just a little sticky. That's when I really like it. Let's push that in. It's got to go a bit lighter. And maybe just a touch more green, or more towards the phthalo kind of color. Let's just model that through there just a bit. Make sure you preserve nice, clean ellipses, because that's what makes it really pretty. So those nice, clean ellipses there. That's a little too smooth for me as a painter. I like it a bit more modeled, so I'm just going to model some of that through. So it's not quite as smooth here. Let's take just a bit of that, restate that right up, real careful right up here, leaving that shadow of the glass on that side. Model that through. So you can see you're starting to get some real pretty effects to the glass there. Let's get some of the top up here. We'll get some of this nice dark. We'll go up right up in here, which putting that shadow on, I lost my ellipse, so I'll be a little careful here. We'll do that ellipse again. And if the ellipse doesn't work out, we just cover it up with leaves here. You know, there's ways. Let's get a bit more blue and green and some violet here. Nice darker color. Let's pull down. Pull down. And this is going to, and this will pull down quite a bit. You can leave some nice, nice movement lines in that as well, because brush calligraphy in that, and that'll help give the height to the glass here. So you can leave a bit of those lines, but we want to come back a little more violet right up through here. Have some variation into the glass, some darks and some lights and stuff. It'll pull just a touch darker here on this side, but not quite as far down. Right about in there, and we'll pull this across a bit. Real dark down into that center, violet and green. And then a little bit of your blue. You can always kill the blue intensity with a touch of that naphthol red as well. And we'll kill that nice dark right in there. And this is why you have that beautiful gray in there. See, if I pull like that, I get some of that nice coloring lines through there, and you'd actually pick up, if you had the leaves in here, some of the greens and stuff coming through. But let's just take that, thin this out here, and kind of whisper this lightly through here, and we'll let some of the background color, toning color, and grays and stuff come through. Be kind of careful with your lips right there, right in there like that. Let some of that light come through here. Push just a bit of that light through. Just a bit of that movement in there. It's the movement of the glass. That's what I like. I'm going to take a bit of my darker tone and then just reset that just a bit in there. That's that movement that I like to see in there. See, so it gets really nice. Now you have some bouncing little lights onto the other side up there too. We can put those in if we want. But I'm going to let some of this tack up, because I don't like to paint it when it's really, really wet. It's hard to get nice lines and stuff like that when it's really, really wet. So I'll let some of this dry just a bit, and then we can work it again here. That's what I like. I get all the time people, on our YouTube channel and stuff that are always asking me, can I do this technique with oils? Can I do this technique with oils? I used to paint for years with oils and stuff, and I switched to acrylics because I found it easier. Now, I know there's a lot of people that will disagree with me, and that's okay. We're all artists. We all paint different. But for me, it's easier doing it with acrylics, letting that tack up and putting out some more and some layers with it. And I can slow my acrylics down. This painting only takes an hour and a half, 2 hours or so. I can slow it down enough to paint it wet on wet if I want here with some of the techniques I have. But see, as this starts to tack up just a bit, I find it really easy to come in here and lay a little bit more color and color movement right there like that I can't do with the oils, because you pick up some of the other color up underneath. Now, some people don't, but I did, so I changed. This is what I do. So a lot of people always ask me, can I do this with oils and stuff? Well, certainly, you can paint anything with oils. You can paint anything with acrylics. You have to change the techniques and sometimes your approaches to it. So, I mean, I learned a lot from the Dutch, and the Dutch, they let sometimes their paintings dry for several weeks, even months, before they came back and put another layer on. And that's because they worked in oils. And that's why I always told all my classes, and when I went around the world lecturing and stuff, saying, yeah, I really think the Dutch would have been painted a lot of their pure techniques with acrylics, now that acrylic technology has gotten so much better. So I think they would have done that. So anyway, everybody's opinion's a little different. And I know I'll say this and get hate mail. You can do this with oils. Of course you can do it with oils, but you have to change some of this stuff. And I don't pay any attention to that anymore. So I'm an acrylic painter. And not all acrylics are the same. Can you paint this with all acrylics? No. You can't. Some acrylics dry too fast. So that's just it, and it's just... So I'm going to push that around, a little bit of that movement back through there. I like a bit of that cloudy, hazy look over here. But again, I want to lighten some of my... I'm going to thin this out. I want to lighten some of my look of my glass more than the photo. So I'm going to be just a little careful over here, not to eliminate too much of my lights. I want this glass to be a little bit lighter, but I'm looking for this nice modelly kind of movement that the light is bouncing around on the inside of the glass here. So I want to follow that just a bit there. Okay. Now let's take some of this dark green, blue, some red violet, but nice dark. Let's get that nice dark base here. We're going to be painting with some grays and some background colors over here and bouncing this around. Now, I'm going to leave just a hint of that foot line there. I myself find that really distracting into the painting. So I'm probably, and you can get it easy by just tapping around, and it's a lot easier than what it would look. But I'm going to basically soften some of that out. Now I'm going to leave a little bit of my background right through here. This is actually a reflection up onto the glass right here. It's reflected light. It's a reflection of this table right back up through there. So I'm going to leave the color that I put into that table right over there, right on that. Matter of fact, I might just express it again so I see a bit more of it because it's a little soft. Okay, I'm going to take just a bit of this and just touch it here and there, around through there, into that area there. Okay, and then we'll lighten up, model this, lighten up, let's gray it, a little bit of that red into there. It gives you a better gray. Let's just touch a bit of this color in, kind of find a bit of the movement there. There's a nice foot movement right in there. Tap that in, okay. You're going to go back to some of your table colors. So this is a great way to why we have the medium beige. We'll take our medium beige, some of our greens, some of our reds that we had, a little of these red violets. Let's get some of that medium beige right back up in here. Some of these table colors that we had back here are reflecting back down in this part of the glass. And right back down in there. See, that's where all that is coming from. That's your table. And you can see the through light into it up here on the light side, which is that where the light side is. It's a little darker, so a little more beige into some of these greens and blues and stuff. A little darker right up in here, touching into that side here. Maybe just a bit of that. And that blue's really wet to try to get that nice line on there, but I'm going to pull the color across here, just a nice little line here. Let's get it a touch lighter. Isn't it kind of funny on the shadow side where it's a little bit lighter? It's because of the reflection of the glass. Push that over there just a bit. Okay. A couple of down marks, a couple of touches and stuff, you know, pulling down through here. And again, I'm not going to paint for realism today. I'm just going to try to get some of this nice movement of this glass in here. And I'll paint back and forth with some light and dark. I try not to touch too much. I want this just to get kind of modeled in there. And I mean, you could come in with these colors, you know, touching them, get a small brush and really work it all in there. But, you know, it all depends on how much work you want to put into the glass. I'm not going to push that much into it today because I got other paintings I got to do. But it gives you an idea, pushing that around. I'll go for the big stuff. And what I mean by that is, like, there's that mark that's right there. So I'll come in and make sure I do express that if I'm copying this a bit. So I do express that mark, and that's going to dry down. But I make sure I express that mark. There's a darker mark up underneath it that's really kind of clean and nice there. But, you know, how much are you going to do in there? That's kind of up to you. Now, let's get this nice green and some red, and let's even put a bit of the beige and stuff into it. We'll dirty this down. A little bit of the red and blue into this. This will make a nice grayed shadow. Nice shadow here. We're going to leave just a bit of the space for our light. This is your contact shadow. Leave a bit of the space right there for the light. It'll disappear and become part of the side of the glass right up there. I'll just pull through there like that. But we got to get this contact shadow now. Starts out, this is the darkest shadow really in your painting. And so we'll just thin down. Push that right around there like that. Push that nice contact shadow. Can go a bit further out. I'll pull the color across here. Bit further out. Nice clean contact shadow. Can go a little thinner. So I'll thin up my brush here just a bit. Because the bottom foot of this glass is kind of round. So you'll see the contact shadow visually a little bit further around than you do on some other kinds. Let's take some of that shadow right up here. I'll straighten up this side of the glass right there. Got a little tiny gnat flying around here. And you'll see that. That'll be, but be kind of careful right in there. That's just good. You know, be kind of careful. That's just good painting. And so right out through here, it's going to start to fan out a bit. Now we'll get lighter. We'll go back. There's that little mat. We'll go back to our beige. A little bit of extender. A little bit of our beige right in here. And pull out. Let's get some of that green and red. I love those colors here. I like the bit of that red in there on the edges of this shadow here. We'll go right up towards our through light. Kind of bounce that. Smear that out a bit because you got value changes, which we study in color theory, the value changes and stuff in shadows. And you know, so you can see the value changes there into the shadows. It actually gets a bit lighter back out through here. We can blur that out just a bit lighter there. And again, it's how much time you're going to spend, you know, on your glass and all that stuff, getting those shadows and stuff in there. But just all I have to do is just mention that there's the value changes. I like to just model up like that, and I'll get that shadow in there. And then I will take some of that color just for the pure interest of the composition, and I'll push some of that back up into the rest of the areas of my cast shadow from my compositional shadow there. And we'll take a bit of that. Whoa. That was not right. Model that a bit here. Some dirty colors. And get some of that beige in there. So that I'm really missing. Just to carry some of that back up a little higher there. Some of that moving through. So the viewer will pick up some of those colors in there. Okay, now, so we can have more. I mean, you can have more and you can clean up. Now, how much you clean up? Let's go back here to our blue, a little bit of violet, of the quinacridone violet, and some light. Don't even look for exactly the same color. Just look for a medium value range. Push a little bit of that. We're going to bounce around. Now that this is drying, we'll bounce around a little more color tone in here. Maybe blur that line ever so, just a bit. There. So you don't have that clear line, so you can see some of that. Let's bounce just a bit. And remember, I'm going to lighten this glass up, so I'm not going to have it quite as dark. I'm just going to bounce some of this around in there just a bit. I like that. Okay. And that's just a nice, real quick, painting of it. You can, you can go in here more perfect. You can express like this light side edge to the water here. A little bit lighter right there. Make sure you capture some of those low shines right back down over there. Then let's take some of this though, a little bit lighter. Just kind of model that up, and let's just take a look at walking some of this through here. Thin this out. A little more blue and violet here. And let's just thin this out, and let's just grab some height to the glass here. And again, the movement of the glass, that's what I'm adding there. So it's a little bit lighter, a little bit more than what I see over in the photo, but in the original over there, it's quite a bit lighter. So I'm kind of coming right between the two here. Just bouncing a little bit of light through here. So a little bit lighter than what the photo is, not quite as light as what my setup is. Just kind of finding the both. Let's bounce a little more light back through. Once you have some of this, it's easy to bounce some of this light through. And it just gives you nice modeling of the colors here. Let's bounce that a little bit lighter here. So right up over here, a bit more of that right in there. Pull that around. Just brush mark a bit. There, like that. That's just kind of, you can see, that does kind of bounce around a little over here, and just kind of move it, push it on and push it around. So the other reason why I just love painting with these acrylics is I can paint with my finger, and I like to do that. So I'll bounce that through there like that. That's pretty good. And let's touch a bit of a cast light here. Just right in there like that. A little bit of a mark. Let's get that a little bit lighter. Through light, little shine there. This one we can make a bit bigger. Let's touch just a few areas in here with that color. Bit more of a brown right up here if I want to catch it a little closer. See, it's easy to put those in now that this is tacked up a bit. That's why I like it. It's easier to get those tack marks up in there. Okay. And then, how close you're going to go, that's up to you. But I'm going to express a little bit of that brown right up here, which is what would happen with bouncing light through. Maybe just a bit. Now I'm starting to get the artistic part of it. Carrying and bouncing color and light and stuff. So now what really makes this, really come forward here is kind of the shines. And, like I did before, you go to a shine, the shine here is really kind of perfect. I'm going to model it with a little bit of the blues and stuff here. First I'm going to put a low shine, then the highlight shine. So about a value 9 or so. Right up into here, it's a shine and a little bit heavier there. And again, just like I did on the other one, I'm going to go a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to go a little bit lighter. So I'm going to put some white with this and put a little textured mark here. So this is my this is my, and you see how hard that is to lay off? Because the undershine here, the low shine is still light, still wet. So sometimes it's hard to lay it off. So you really got to get a lot of texture and stuff in it to lay that off. But it's nice the thing about acrylics is you can just let it tack up here for a little bit. Now, I just noticed that is right up underneath that, I could have a little bit lighter blue. Still see that nice light, but this could be a bit lighter. Because like I say is, when I'm painting fast, I squint down to look at values. And and look at things. I squint down to do that. And it's, for me, as a professional artist, it's like, okay, if I'm painting realism, heck, I would be doing this quite a bit more. But I'm not. I'm painting a real quick, nice, beautiful painting that's going to have pretty glass in it. It doesn't need to be absolutely precise. So I saw that little lighter through before I pushed this shine on here. And I'm going to push this shine just a little softer, maybe. Here. There, like that. A little low shine of that. You can tap through, because it may or may not be there, but you would have a little bit of a shine on any expressed edge. Sometimes, I will come through and just tap a bit of a light mark that goes through the glass right there that helps you set that up. Sometimes, and we don't have it here because of the bokeh, the shadow of it, the bokeh, but, sometimes as an artist, even though you don't see it because of the shadow of the bokeh, you would still express a bit of a light somewhere in there, and you can put some low shines around, bounce the light around a bit here, so we make sure we touch those. But that gives you a nice idea of it. We don't have to paint the thickness of the glass and stuff like we did the last time, but it all depends. Now, you see, if I am painting, which I am here for, I'm going to take some of this soft. What I like to do to take it now a little bit more of a painting is I'll blur out every once in a while some of these edges with my light warm color and stuff here over the edge, blur it out over the edge, so none of this is absolutely perfect. And that takes more of the Alla Prima look to it and more of the painterly look. So sometimes I would sit there and I'd say, okay, I would come in like with a nice light, which we want to do. Remember, we did this with the last one, and I'll just pow right against that edge there. But I may blur that right into the edge of that glass just a bit, and I'll pull a little bit of that blue further out there, but blur that, and that takes it a bit more painterly. It gives it a little bit more of a painterly look to it. Do you do that or not? That's up to you. That's your technique as an artist. How much, like I said before, how much calligraphy and stuff are you going to leave into that? That's up to you. There's no real correct way. It's all artistic interpretation now. So I'll push a bit of that in there. And so you got a nice painting here. I'll just bounce a bit of that light through. And let's come back up over here. Right in line with that ellipse of where my light is going to be. We'll bounce some of that nicer light right in there. Then we'll go up and paint some real quick flowers, and we'll have ourselves a nice little painting here. All right, so we'll just put that in. We're going to visit that again and put some more colors and stuff like that into that. But I could, use a little bit more dark here. I could, looking at the original right back there, you do see that back ellipse, a little bit more of an angle right back over there. So, you can bring that back ellipse out just a bit more of the back of the glass there. And that's all up to you. I'm going to take some violet and some green right down here. Real dark, maybe a bit of this blue. And I'm just going to suggest, let them highs and lows, suggest through here. Here's some of the stems that'll go through into the glass there. And you'll notice into the stems they blur. See how they bend and they blur a little bit, so they're not exactly perfect here So you may just kind of touch and blur them just a bit there. And I like to do that. Whether or not, when they pick up a real shine, that's when they really get kind of wonky and stuff. So, and I'm not going to paint a whole bunch of stuff there, but I could, tap out another little color or something, like there's a little leaf or something that comes off of it. But I'm not, I like to just keep them just kind of wonky and just, very, very casual back in there. Let's go up and put in an oval shape right up here. We'll paint a real quick little floral here to go with this colored glass. And in the painting, so I'm just taking some of my green, just tossing it into my browns and stuff. And, if you're going to go more pure Alla Prima, you would paint a light side and dark side to the leaf. In the actual setup in the photo here, everything looks dark, but this is where you got to take artistic license. Maybe put a little dark to one side here, and a little bit of light to the top side of that. You can read a little bit of light into the front there. Do you add more? That's up to you. I'll let you decide that. Here, if you're painting for a pure path of light, of course you would. You would add a bit of that light through there, a little bit of that light movement that you don't really see in the photo. But you're painting a painting, an artistic expression here, so we want to add a little bit more stuff here. So let's take our edge here and let's just idea here some of the stems here and some of this movement and stuff. Just, I like to let some areas get nice and blurry. And take a little green and violet here. I'll push some of this in. I'm gonna paint this a little bit more casual and just kind of brushed in here. Some of these yellows. I like some of those colors that just come out of my brush. Sometimes it's planned, sometimes it's not. And but I like the casual nature of what starts to happen. I'll put a little more warm yellow right up in the front. That pulls the yellow from my flowers and stuff further down. And you could put the tie things together. You could put some strokes of some yellow, right into your, now this is the calligraphy I've talked about before. And this is what starts to come out into the painting. It's up to you, how much you bring out. It's your painting. Here, I like to pull this like I did in the last one. I pull it across and then I address a half tone right out here. Put some of those colors in there like that. Put a little bit of a extender into this and address some of those warm cools pulling across there. Let some of that nice casual nature of it. It's all up to you, how much. And if you want it softer, you go to a bigger brush, like a 3/4 inch, or here I have my 1 inch. And I'll pull some of this around, use a little more water into it. Use your dirty paper towel. Pull some of those nice lines. Carry some of that nice, beautiful colors. Yellows, some of the warms, a little bit of the blues through. This, to me, is this used to be some of the hardest things for me to do when I started out, and now it's the most fun part. It's the calligraphy part of the painting that I just really enjoy, and the power of the brush strokes and the movements and stuff. And, and I used to always be afraid of this. It's got a little bit of pink. Let's see how that comes out, too. There. And, tap some of that through there. That's kind of nice. You can blur that up into the flowers. Again, it's up to you. From now on, it's your part of the painting. You take over. We've got our path of light in there, which is what I wanted to show you. A little bit of blue. Boy, I love that color. Some of that glass coming out there. And you know, you always have your medium beige. Hit back if it starts to get too much. Hit back with some of your medium beige. Get some of those colors, some of those working back down in there. It just makes it kind of pretty. And, you know, and don't judge it until it starts to dry down. Remember, it all starts to dry down quite a bit as well. So, you know, work that. You can, if something gets too much, you like it, you know, back at where it was. I kind of like this, but you just take a damp paper towel and work through it, and it starts to soften out some things. You might have to come back and reset a few things too when you do something like that. You know, reset the edges. Like if you like this to be a bit more of a, you know, found edges back here, like say the back edges of these roses right back here, you know, then come back and restate, or just let a little bit of it blur out like that. That's kind of pretty here. And yeah, just go back and redress anything that might need it. So some of that pink with some yellows and stuff right here would be maybe pretty back here into this back of some of these yellow ones here as well. Kind of ties the two flowers together a bit. You know, just a little bit of that traveling around and stuff. It's really kind of pretty. Some of those nice siennas and daruluites are so pretty colors. You know, touch a few of them around. That's nice. You can push some of that into the center. Restate some of the fronts. Like I say, I'm never worried about in the fronts of my flowers. You know, I never worry about restating them again. It's just part of where I like to paint. I never bother. I mean, it never bothers me to restate and do again, do again, do again. Here, especially when I start to get more of the pure casual nature of the Alla Prima like this. And you know, and you gotta kind of balance it to your glass. And if I get too much more casual here, I'm going to go down and blur some of the edges of my glass and stuff down there as well. But you can see right there, it makes a kind of a nice little, you know, painting. It's the glass comes off of here, get some nice colors. I could use a bit more of my reds and stuff down low here. You know, a few hits of those colors to kind of, you know, carry some of that into the bottom part of the painting. But that's just all final stuff that I look at. You know, we talk about carrying and harmonizing our colors. Take a bit of that blue through there. You know, that's just all part of the final painting. You might want to tap some of these lights like that into the final bits of your, you know, the front of your glass or something like that, reflected lights and stuff. So move them around, all kinds of little things that you can do here like that. Just pretty colors. Well, that's a nice color. A little bit of that blue coming in there, and set it into that painting like that. And maybe a bit of that thinned out here, just thinned here, back here, just through the painting here. And so carry some of that blue. I'll thin it out here with a little water, maybe a bit of extender, just kind of go through it a bit, loosen it up, and it's going to dry a bit darker, so go ahead and let it stay a little bit lighter there, and see how that goes. You get a nice, see that little touch of that blue and stuff up there, and that's what they would do, you know. I mean, you know, you look at a couchoir, you know, some of you have painted couchoir, French painters and stuff, you'd take some of that blue like that, and just add little touches of that back up in and through your painting like that to carry some of that blue of that glass up. Or maybe it's more of a blue-green here that goes right into the back of a leaf like that back there. I'm going to tone that down a little bit of red here. Gray that down just a bit, pull that through here. Boy, that's really kind of a nice color back there with that. I do like that, so I'm going to push a bit of that in here. Yeah, That's gonna kind of pretty. Now, you know, the thing is like, and this is the, you know, you got that blue mark up there. How many are bothered by it? I think the edge is maybe a bit much on it, but that's kind of like where I want to try to go, is to leave something like that without playing around with it too much, you know, because in many times I consider myself still not casual enough of a painter, and I want to be able to do that. So it's I'm going to try to leave a little bit of these colors out here, and we'll see what happens. My chair squeak is back. That means it's time to end the video, because my squeak is coming back here. So we'll just push that around a bit. Let that dry down. Maybe restate that shadow there one more little time here. And then I'm going to call it, because I think it's kind of a nice little painting. You know, a little bit of that blue into some of that forming shadow there. That bouquet shadow there coming through. That light back there doesn't belong quite as light. You can see it over there. It's bothered a little bit by that. I'm just going to take it down a bit. There, like that. That's kind of pretty. A little bit more blue into that shadow. Carries that blue glass as a better part of the composition. We could have just a touch more of that, maybe back along our line here. And I want to leave that line very understated there. Just very understated in the painting. That's kind of nice. A little bit of that through there. There you go. Okay, that's kind of a nice little painting. And loosen it all up. Thinking about your path of light and up and through. Don't get these too light. Keep that nice center of interest area up here. More contrast there than it is there. And paint your glass. Paint your glass kind of simply. So really kind of a fun little thing. I'll let this dry, and if I need to, I'll pump up a little bit more right up into the front. But step back and take a look. I'm looking at it, the camera we're looking at there, and that doesn't look too bad. Adding a few more things. You can see how much adding more stuff to it gave a more interesting composition. You might consider putting a flower or something down there. It's up to you. Okay? All right. Glad you enjoyed. We have lots more coming, and I'll see you in those videos. Okay? All right. Have a good one.